Welcome everybody to the March 22nd Met Council Management Committee meeting. So thrilled that you can be here today. And just briefly, I know we've got a tight agenda tonight, we'll get through it or today. But if we could just go around and introduce ourselves, and it's because we have millions of viewers at home who are also watching this important work, and it is important work that we do, by the way. Councilmember Lilligren, would you just introduce yourself?
Yeah. Sure, Councilmember Lilligren, District 7. Robert Lilligren, I guess.
John Pacheco, District 6.
Gail Cedarberg, District 12.
Lori Connery, Recording Secretary.
I'm Judy Johnson, District 1, chairing the meeting.
George Gonzalez, Deputy Regional Administrator and CFO.
Ted Barber, District 4.
Yasin Osman, District 8.
Thanks everybody, and welcome to our two new council members that are here today. You're going to love this committee because you get to look under the hood at the Met Council and see all the things that we've got going on and the great people that we have helping move us forward. So with that, in the past few weeks we've had some weather things going on and some kind of disruptions to our agenda, but we're finally here tonight to do some important work. And first of all, I'll call the meeting to order. And if there aren't any changes, you've all gotten the agenda in front of you, we'll just assume then that that is okay and we'll proceed, seeing no changes, all right? And then we've got the draft minutes from our February 8th Management Committee meeting. Everyone's had a chance to look at those as well. So if there aren't any edits or changes, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Barbara.
Second.
Seconded by Lilligren. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. That passes unanimously. So now we're going to move on to our non-consent business. We've got one item, 2023-39. This is an amendment to the list of authorized financial institutions. And we're pleased that we've got Mark Thompson, who's the Director of Treasury with us, who's been waiting for at least a few weeks to share this information. So the floor is yours, Mr. Thompson, and thank you so much for being patient with us.
Thank you. Yes, Mark Thompson, I'm the Director of Treasury. And for the new members of this committee, I oversee the banking, the investments, and the debt. So this is one piece so that this business item comes to council every year where we approve our financial institutions. So let me just back up and tell you a little bit about it. But so this business item is asking the council to approve an amendment to our list of authorized financial institutions, which the council approved back in November. This list, like I mentioned, is brought forward each fall to give transparency around our banking, our credit cards, and our investment services that we expect to use. It's updated. It goes each fall. It's brought to the Investment Review Committee, then this committee, and then to the full council. So this particular business item today is asking the council to approve amending the list that was previously approved in November to add two different banks, Sunrise Banks and Bank Cherokee, as approved institutions under the Certificate of Deposit Program. For those new members also, the Certificate of Deposit Program is a program where we take a portion of our long-term investment portfolio and we invest it with CDs of local community banks that have a strong track record of investing in the community. So we're trying to bring this program up to full capacity, so we've got room to add a few more banks. So that's what this business item is about. Both of these banks have submitted applications, and before we can do business with them, we need to add them to this list. So. And by doing this, we're not committing to doing a CD with them. This is just the first step in getting them on our approved financial institutions list. We still have some more, although these banks are very strong candidates, we don't have a timeline for making investments with these banks in light of what's going on in the banking sector. It's prudent of us to take our time and watch that carefully and do some more evaluation of these banks to see where they are with this recent stress.
And Mr. Thompson, I just
Yes.
have to appreciate that because that was going to be some of my questions today. Make sure they're well capitalized, well diversified, and they're also well managed, and oversight is what it needs to be. So and that is of all of our banks that we do business with. So thank you, I appreciate you keeping your eye on that, because I thought, wow, we've got a lot of money out there on behalf of our taxpayers that is assigned to go to a lot of projects in this region. So it's just, I wanted to put a little exclamation point or note that we probably have a different mindset than we might have had a month ago.
Right. Madam Chair, thank you. I think, we're all anxious to ramp up the CD program. And, like I said, we need to be a little cautious and take our time with this. Recent situation, it might take, something that we're watching, of course, and I'm having dialogues with all our current banks. Currently have 7 CDs out there. I've reached out to all of them and tried to get feedback. Granted, they can't tell me if they're having issues, but I've got responses from all of them, and we're not aware of any issues. Nobody's told us they're having an issue, obviously, and we're watching them all very carefully. We'll continue to dialogue, and we're trying to figure ways to have more due diligence. I know there's one thing we're looking at doing is looking at the FDIC website where you can look at the financial condition of the bank. So I think before we actually give money away in this environment, we want to make sure we've done as best job we can. I think the banks that have failed so far are banks that had concentrated investor bases, right, that were very risky around venture capital and crypto and things like that. And I think our banks are managed differently. So I'm pretty confident we're safe, but there are still risks.
And Mr. Thompson, if I may, the FDIC funds will guarantee up to $250,000 of insurance per account, account holder, I think it is. So we have probably a lot more than that, of course. So how are we insured or protected? And if there is a gap, I know through some other things I've been involved in, there's some additional insurance that can be layered on top of that. So can you just give us just a quick where we're at?
Yeah, we do have some additional protections, Madam Chair. I think our statute dictates how we structure our deposits. Statute requires us to have collateral for all our deposits, and that includes our CDs for anything over that FDIC limit. So all our banking deposits and all our CDs are either FDIC insured or they're fully collateralized, which means collateralization can come in a few different ways. They can pledge, the bank is required to pledge securities, or they have to obtain a letter of credit from a federal home loan bank, or they can obtain a corporate surety letter. And that whatever collateral we have is held at a third party, so that if there was a bank default, that collateral would be released to the council. So yes, all of our bank deposits and our CDs are they're fully covered with either collateral or FDIC insurance. So.
And did you happen to get any calls? Like I know US Bank put out a recorded call for all of their account holders, and do you get any of that kind of from our big banks like Wells and US Bank, so that they're letting us know more proactively?
You mean of their situation?
Just I mean I had their top investors
not,
and C-suite people were on talking about the health and all the things of the bank, but
like all of our cash banking deposits are at 2 large banks, Wells Fargo or US Bank. So I think this situation right now is revolving really around regional banks and small banks where we don't have any deposits except for the CDs. So.
Okay. Is there anything else? And again, just the background on this was, again, the effort on behalf of the council is trying to make sure within our equity work and making sure that we're, engaging with minority-owned businesses and minority-owned banks or banks that have a large share of women or minorities on their boards, to make sure that we're pushing money back into the community where everybody then can take part in those investments. And so that's the genesis of this, and I really appreciate you working hard to get us the 2 banks. I'm very familiar with Sunrise Banks, a little less with Bank Cherokee, but just doing some cursory work. But again, it's to get them on the list, and there's more due diligence, and it will come back before this group.
And Madam Chair, we are discussing this at the Investment Review Committee. which meets quarterly also and is chaired by Councilmember Pacheco. And that committee is made up of 2 council members, 2 external advisors or members, and our CFO.
Yeah, which is great, and I appreciate Councilmember Pacheco's leadership on that, and then Councilmember Lee, who's not here today, is the audit chair, and that sits under management as well. And so just FYI, every now and then I'd like to have some sort of report coming in from audit on what they're doing. We just got something from the state auditor that came before all of us, but just keeping those 2 groups that sit with management and our liaisons so that everybody's in the know. That's me in my second term. Me in my first term might not have said that because I was learning, but given the state of the banking system, but certainly the enormity of the investments and the money that moves in and out of this committee over to the council for final approval. And audit work is really important too. You learn a lot when you sit and watch what we do internally with audits. So, all right. And do you have anything else on this item?
I don't, other than the Thrive Lens analysis. The list of authorized financial institutions provides transparency around the council's financial relationships and demonstrates stewardship over the council's financial resources. And then the proposed action, Madam Chair, is that the Metropolitan Council approve amending the 2023 list of authorized financial institutions to add Sunrise Banks and Bank Cherokee as approved institutions for the CD Certificate of Deposit Program.
So moved.
Second.
Pacheco, seconded by Lilligren. Councilmember Lilligren, did
Yeah.
you want to say something?
Thanks, and I support this motion. I really support this movement towards adding this community level, sort of neighborhood level almost banks to the list, and I appreciate the additional due diligence, Mr. Thompson, that you discussed. And like you, I'm very familiar with Sunrise Bank, and it's earlier, right? Franklin National Bank, is that what it was before Sunrise?
Yeah.
But I'm not at all familiar with Cherokee Bank Cherokee, except for what I've been able to glean in about 20 seconds of looking at their website. But one of the things I saw during the economic downturn 2008, 2009, and Sunrise Bank was really active in supporting small businesses in my universe and in my ecosystem. And it put a strain on them that they had, what I guess I would call higher risk or something lenders, and they corrected very well. It was a little painful, but they corrected really well. And so it just makes me wonder if, as we're looking at sort of other dynamics or waves or eddies in the economic situation, especially on these regional or smaller banks, I don't feel it's fair to penalize an institution because it's doing work that no other institutions are willing to do. So due diligence, yes. Being responsible with taxpayer dollars, yes. And how do we make sure that we're not penalizing some of the banks we want to do business with because they're doing business with people other banks don't. So thank you.
Yeah, totally agree. Any other comments, discussion? All right, seeing none, then we have a motion on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no, and that passes unanimously. So, Mr. Thompson, you are now up with the quarterly investment review committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So a little more background for the new members, if I may. This is a quarterly presentation that I come to this committee with. It comes after our investment review committee meeting, which happened in February. Again, this one's a little delayed, so this is fourth quarter. Typically, this is something we would have done in February. Like I mentioned, the investment review committee meets quarterly. It's got 5 members, which I mentioned. We manage 3 investment portfolios, and I'm going to go over those with you in this presentation. The first 4 slides I think we'll skip over. Thank you. Because it's economic data that's now a quarter old. So I think we'll jump to, I guess I get to control it. And I'll describe each one of our portfolios for the benefit of the new members. And we'll kind of walk over, this is going to be fourth quarter performance and holdings information. We have 3 portfolios, a short-term portfolio, a long-term portfolio, and an OPEB trust portfolio. So this is the short-term portfolio, which which we use really for cash management. So we're investing available cash around our expenditures. Some of our large expenditures are payroll, debt service, large capital expenditures. It's a very short-term portfolio, highly liquid, that we keep in very conservative investments. You can see on the left side of the screen, it shows a little chart of sector allocations. So we've got the total portfolio is about $1.07 billion at the end of the year. It was invested in Treasury bills, about $198 million, government discount notes, $675 million, and money market funds. And you can see that the colored bars are the different security types. And I guess from the fourth quarter, we expanded our use of money market funds a little bit, and we also have been expanding throughout the year our use of government discount notes. Really, with these securities, we're just chasing yield, and as the Fed has been increasing interest rates throughout the year, we're picking and choosing where we can get the best short-term yield. So securities in this portfolio are generally 6 months and shorter, so it's very short-term. On the right side, you can see total return for this year. Great news, I guess, is we're able to capture higher interest rates immediately when the Fed increases rates, which they did an hour ago again, 2 hours ago. So you can see the total return numbers. We outperformed our benchmark slightly in the fourth quarter. The average yield in the portfolio is up to 4.12 at the end of the year. It's even higher now. And you can see that was quite a jump from the 2.49 it averaged in the third quarter. The interest income has greatly benefited from increasing short-term rates. We're $8.9 million of interest income in the fourth quarter versus 4.1 in the third, so it more than doubled. And we're getting higher and higher and closer to the Fed peak, but our earnings are averaging now $3.5 to $4 million a month in this portfolio, where a year ago we were earning way less than $1 million a month. So it's tripled and quadrupled almost. So any questions on the short term?
Are there any questions? No. We can keep going.
The long term, this is our longer term reserves. There's $444 million as of the end of the year. This money is a little longer term horizon. It's invested from 1 year out to 10 years. Most of it is less than 5 years. We have a few municipal bonds that go out a little longer, but again, sector allocation on the left, you can see hasn't really changed much this year. Really due to the interest rate environment where interest rates have been going up and our holdings value has been going down, and no bonds are being called, but we didn't have many maturities, so there wasn't a lot of change in the allocation types. We're invested in U.S. government agency bonds, U.S. Treasury notes, municipal bonds, and the certificates of deposit is our CD program. We've got $18.5 million in that. It's approved. The council has approved it for $20 to $25 million, so we've got a little bit of extra room there. On the right, total return again, we were 0.83% versus our benchmark of 0.92. So we underperformed our benchmark slightly in the fourth quarter. That was really because our duration was really short. We've been in kind of a defensive position as rates have been rising. No real change in that throughout the year. The good news was, you can see in the fourth quarter, we had a positive total return for the first time of the year. So it's been a tough year. So it's good to see a positive number in this portfolio. And the average yield is a little over 1% versus 0.99 last quarter. I think we're going to see some activity in that in the first quarter, where we've got some reinvestment opportunities to grab yields, closer to 5%. So we should see some more increase in the average yield and investment earnings coming from this portfolio in the next quarter.
Can I ask a
Yep,
question?
go ahead.
Sure.
So, since I'm new, and the relationship between the investment committee and you, and then how you choose how to reinvest, can you talk a little bit about that? Is it set up just automatic reinvestments?
Sure, Madam Chair,
Thanks,
Councilmember, that
Too?
I manage all three of these portfolios.
Right.
Well, the long-term and the short-term I manage. The OPEB we'll talk about in a minute is managed at the state, but I make all the investment decisions. So I've been managing investments for 25 years, so I have some experience in the background in that. And then we're dictated by statute what type of securities we can buy. It's very conservative. So we manage these according to statute, and the short term is managed around our cash flow.
Right.
This one's a little longer. We have, like I said, up to about 10 years that we're managing. But as securities come due,
Right.
I'm reinvesting. I'm making that decision based on the interest rate environment and what's available. So,
Yep.
and then the investment review committee is reviewing what we're doing each quarter.
I appreciate the fact that the statute, I didn't know that the statute is kind of overlaying
Guardrails.
what you're
Yep.
doing. Thank you.
Great question.
All right. Last portfolio, this is the OPEB trust, which holds assets that are set aside for our future OPEB liabilities, which are 30 plus years in the future. So this is a long-term investment. It's managed at the state board, and they give us 3 different investment options. We can dictate the allocation between those options, but they actually hold the funds and manage them. You can see in the left there, the trust value has peaked back in the end of 2021, and through our difficult 22 went down. I will say that we did withdraw $13.6 million in September, so all of those decreases are not market decreases. We did withdraw some money to pay our annual OPEB expenses, and we also have part of this is a fixed. You can see we have 62% in an equity pool, which is an S&P 500 index pool, and 38% is in fixed income and cash. And so we're also showing some losses because the fixed income is bonds we hold there. So those have realized losses that will never be realized, but on paper it's showing those losses. So our OPEB liabilities fortunately continue to be fully funded. So we're in a great position there. It's been a tough year for this because of the equity and fixed income has seen negative returns. Fortunately, as I can say it again, the fourth quarter was positive for the first time of the year. First quarter of the year was positive, 5.03%. We've got a great history. You can see the 5-year and 10-year averages are 6.59% and 10%, more than 10%. So we've, historically, those high returns we've experienced have got us into a great position. We don't see any strategy change here other than we try to maintain a 60-40 allocation. So we monitor this monthly and make adjustments as needed to keep it at that target allocation. And that's all conclude my comments.
Great. Councilmember Pacheco, did you have anything else as chair of that group?
No, I do not, actually. It's hard to remember back to February, we had.
Yeah, we met early February, yeah.
Kind of different discussion.
Yeah, great. And Mark, how long have you been at the council? Just start to know.
To October of 20, so
Yeah, right in the pandemic.
2+ years.
Yeah, and he's been doing a great job. So appreciate him.
You'll see me often. We have
That's good.
some more things coming in a couple weeks. So.
It's good. Did you want to add anything? Okay, great. Any questions? All right, so with that, don't believe we have any other items to come before this committee. And I would just say, certainly for the current council members, but for the new council members, if there's anything that you want to dig a little deeper into, George will be your main point of contact, and then he can get you to anybody who's ever coming before the group for sure. And, you know, feel free to ask the questions you really want to know answers to. All questions are good questions, and there's a learning curve here, and those of us who've been around, we're still learning. And I'm challenging everybody at the council on whatever committee I serve on, just give us as much as we can take, and you know, if we're overloaded, we'll let you know. But I think in all times when you're governing, but certainly in challenging times, it's just important to really understand as much as we can the nuances. And there's a lot of really interesting things that come before us, and a lot of it is, I look at Councilmember Barber, interesting is the word I'd use for your committee too. There's just a lot.
Interesting for my committee?
Yeah, there's a lot, and you'll probably pick up the rhythm too, that sometimes an item will go before one committee, it might hit two committees, sometimes I think it even hits three committees, and those are all noted on our regular council agenda. So you'll see where else I was gonna say bill, but it's not a bill. The item is moving, and so you might see an item come before you in another committee, and you go, oh, I saw this before, which is really nice by the time you're finally voting on it, because you're like, okay, you've had some good robust discussion. So anyways, that's all that we have, and now we have a little reception, I believe, for our new police chief who will be sworn in today. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate everyone for all your hard work, and we are adjourned.
You know.